Philippines as one. Skills development, again, quoting from the report, is vital in reducing unemployment, inequality, poverty, and promoting growth. It's as if it was quoting the Philippine Development Plan. Same words, except that the GMR again repeated that for every $1 spent on education, as much as $10 to $15 can be generated in economic growth. Very strong messages for policymakers, not only in government but in business, on why we need to invest in education. For every one, you get as much, meron kang tubo na $10 to $15 generated in economic growth. So when do we start investing on the future? Invest now, invest in education. So the objectives of our forum: to formally launch the Education for All Global Monitoring Report to be presented to us by Dr. Anwar Al-Sayed later on. Discuss various aspects of Philippine experience in technical vocational education and training. And for this reason, this is the reason why we partner with Technical Vocational Schools Association of the Philippines, or TEVSAPIL, which is the lead organization in this regard, to propose policy options and action agenda in addressing issues on skills training for the youth. The latter part of the report talks about, and I think this is very timely, talks about secondary education. The desired or the proposed curriculum, as far as, again, very timely, and again, very relevant to us, as far as senior high is concerned. It talks about the importance of providing skills training in senior high school, and the quality and the desired tracks which could be taken or should be taken as far as senior high, integrating technical vocational skills in secondary school is concerned. So I think it's really incumbent upon policymakers at DepEd to look at the report very closely before we finalize our curriculum for K-12, especially in the area of the Tech Voc stream in the 7 pathways earlier identified by DepEd in the area of senior high school. It ends with it has a very interesting portion as far as integrating technical and vocational skills. And I see some friends from DepEd here. And let me read a part of the report. It says, pushing low-performing students into technical and vocational training can cement social inequality and result in employers devaluing these programs. So we have to go back perhaps and examine closely the different career paths that we have identified in the K-12 program. And I hope that this forum will be one of the could provide some inputs to the Department of Education in finalizing the envisioned K-12 program. Let me now mention introduce the participants in this forum. Our co-convener is the Technical Vocational Schools Association of the Philippines, or TEVSAPIL. We have many of them are with us now, member schools are with us. And these are schools, Dr. Anwar, from up north to down south in Mindanao. They are with us. Can we please see them? Can you raise your hands, please, to TEVSAPIL members? Thank you for coming. We also have colleagues from the Department of Education with us. Other government agencies with us, aside from the Department of Education, is from the Department of Labor and Employment. Bureau of Workers with Special Concerns, the National Council on Disability Affairs. I think what we did was that we want a panel also to look at providing skills to youth, women, and those which are differently abled. And also another participant will discuss providing technical skills to indigenous communities so that we're able to address the needs of quote-unquote marginalized sector. From international organizations, I mentioned Ms. Lourdes Rivera Mateo from UNICEF. We have colleagues from CIMEO, INUTEC, and from, of course, UNESCO National Commission, and the Center for Lifelong Learning for Sustainable Development of UNESCO. So we also have members from ENEP, Education Network of the Philippines, represented here. The Adaptive Technology in Rehab Integration and Empowerment of the Visually Impaired, ACTRI. Thank you for coming. And an organization which was supported by UNESCO in the past, ERDA Technical Educational Secondary Medical Principal from us, and Philippine Business for Education, PIBE. So thank you very much. So Anne, we are waiting for our visitors. So can we have sing and dance? I'll start. Too early for sing and dance. So can we declare it a break?
Break.
Let's have a break when we wait for Secretary of Tests. Thank you very much.
Hello again. We're about to begin this afternoon session. I hope we can all be seated now and be prepared for the next presentation. So good afternoon and welcome again to this afternoon's session. And it's a privilege for us to have Dr. Anwar Al-Said present to us and to formally launch the EFA GMR 2012 report. Dr. Anwar.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I know I will not have a trouble to keep you awake. It's really not a good idea to do a presentation after lunch. But I noticed that lunch is soft, it's not very heavy, so I can look around and see everybody still awake. And I will raise my voice frequently, so anybody might fall asleep will get up. Of my presentation today, information were mentioned earlier, which are from the report. Ramon and the Secretary and Mel have mentioned numbers, have mentioned situations, have mentioned EFA and so forth. So let me start with the presentation. It's not working. The magic touch. Okay. Let me try again. Okay. Testing. All right. Now, when the EFA started years ago, there were strong political wills, commitments in many countries. So it came to a certain extent, and then unfortunately stagnant. It became to a level where it did not move further. There we will see that's why in many countries around the world, they would not achieve the education for all goals. Political will may be still there, but political will alone doesn't work because it needs money. Without finances, you cannot do it much. Maybe, excuse me, I might just get, injections here and there, because sometimes we always think about education and it's something dear to us because we know it's the hope for everybody. At some point, and also we might hear it in the room here, we always hear it, partnerships between private sector, public sector. Now remember, grade schooling in the developed world is still public sector. It's not private sector. Now when we talk about partnerships in the developing world, doesn't mean we give up education to the private sector, but we want real partnerships between the two sectors. Now, in some countries, the issue was confused. The public sector withdrew, private sector moved in, and then we had problems. Then we talk about the EFA goals that were not going to be achieved. Now again, political will has to be backed by enough resources for education. Now, as you all will know, and might you know, that some countries, like Indonesia for example, it's stated in the constitution that the education budget must be 20% of the public spending. And that's a huge amount of money. Compared to many countries where the spending on education is probably 33%, 4%, 2%, 5%, which is not enough. That's why, to some extent, we know in figures that Indonesia is on track for achieving the goals. Same as the reduction and decrease of the illiteracy rates from 15% to 6% in about 10 years' time, because the resources are there. Now, aid to education is also slowing, whether it is international aid or within countries or within regions. When we talk about education being stagnant, then we know that there will be